When Vivian Pierce, the new HOA president of the Willow Grove neighborhood in suburban Sacramento, California, fined my family for parking in our own front yard, she had no idea. My dad held the fate of their $1 million loan in his hands. Ethan Harper, 16, stared at the orange fine tucked under the windshield wiper, my stomach sinking. Fined $150, front yard violation, the bold black text screamed at me. What? This is our front yard. My sister Emily's graduation party ran late the night before. A few relatives stayed over, parking in the yard. Nothing seemed wrong when I went to bed. Dad, I yelled, bursting into the house. You need to see this. My dad, David Harper, looked up from his coffee, brow furrowing with concern. He's a senior loan officer at Golden State Bank, used to handling numbers and rules, but this paper threw him off. This is ridiculous, he muttered, reading closely. Violation of Willow Grove HOA Rule 6.2, no more than 2 vehicles in the front yard. My mom Laura stepped over, still in her bathrobe. Absurd. This is our property. David grabbed his phone. I'm calling the HOA now. He put it on speaker for us all to hear. Willow Grove HOA, Vivian Pierce speaking, her voice clipped. Hi, this is David Harper from 315 Oak Lane. We got a fine this morning for family cars in our front yard. There must be a mistake. Her perfunctory laugh gave me chills, not friendly at all. No mistake, Mr. Harper. Rule 6.2 is clear. Max 2 vehicles, you had 5, that's a $150 fine. Dad's tone stayed even, but his grip tightened on the phone. Vivian, these were overnight guests for my daughter's graduation. There's got to be an exception. Rules are rules, Mr. Harper. If everyone parked wherever, this neighborhood would turn into a junkyard. When he hung up, I glanced at Dad. He gave a faint smile. Vivian didn't know he was reviewing the HOA's $1.5 million loan application. She'd just messed with the wrong guy. After the parking fine, I thought Vivian Pierce would back off, but no, she was like a predator tasting blood. Within days, Willow Grove became a nightmare of her enforced rules. First came notices plastered on mailboxes. Wind chimes banned due to noise. I liked the little chime on our porch, tinkling every breezy afternoon, but Mom Laura took it down, muttering, "Not worth fighting that lunatic." Then a new rule: grass can't exceed 3 inches. The next morning, I found another orange fine on our door. Grass at 4 inches, $75 fine. I bet Vivian measured every blade at our house. Dad, David, just shook his head, but I saw a rare spark of anger in his eyes. It didn't stop there. Vivian emailed the whole neighborhood, demanding all homes repaint their doors in an approved palette, just dull grays or beiges. We'd painted ours red last year, now we got a $100 fine for non-compliant color. I started noticing, not every house got hit like us. Henry Brooks next door had a green trash can, clearly against the gray-only rule, but no fine. She's targeting us, Mom said, holding the latest fine, her voice thick with suspicion. Maybe because Emily's party was too loud, I nodded, but secretly wondered, or because Dad's a threat she doesn't even know about. I decided to act. With my old camera, I roamed Willow Grove, snapping everything. Margaret Evans' bird feeder hung 2 inches too high, no fine. Ravi Patel's bike sat in his yard, nothing. But us? A wooden bird statue I made for a school project, set in our front garden, got a $50 fine from Vivian for unapproved decor. I was so mad, I wanted to smash something, but instead I printed the photos and stacked them on the kitchen table. Look at this, Dad, I said. She's picking who to fine. David scanned each picture, nodding. Interesting, he said, his voice low like he was calculating. She thinks she runs everything here. Laura cut in all right about this for the Sacramento Sun. An overreaching HOA president, readers will love it. I saw Dad's faint smile, the kind that told me he was hiding something. Go for it, he told Mom. But don't rush, I need time to check some things. That night, I eavesdropped on Dad's call from his study. Check Willow Grove HOA's financials, he told someone at Golden State Bank. I think something's off. I crept closer to the door, heart pounding. What did Dad know that he wasn't telling us? Then I remembered the $1.5 million loan he's reviewing. If Vivian's counting on that for the community pool, she's in his hands without realizing it. But I also worried, if Dad uses his position, could it backfire? The next morning, another fine, fence over 5 feet $80 penalty. Our fence has been exactly 5 feet since we moved in, but Vivian clearly didn't care about facts. I ran inside, handed it to Mom. She's nuts, I shouted. Laura grabbed a pen, jotting notes. This is evidence, she said. I'll let the whole neighborhood know who Vivian really is. David walked in, glanced at the paper, and said quietly, let her dig her hole deeper. I looked at him wondering, what's Dad waiting for? And when it hits, how will Vivian fall? Vivian Pierce's orange fines kept raining down, but I started seeing my dad, David Harper, wasn't just sitting there taking it. After the fence thing, I noticed him spending more time in his study, door shut, the clack of his keyboard and muffled phone calls seeping through. One night, I crept close and heard him say, I need all of Willow Grove HOA's financial records. Something's wrong with the numbers they sent. I froze, brain racing. He's reviewing their $1.5 million loan, something Vivian doesn't know, and now he suspects fraud. This was revenge waiting to explode. Next morning, I found Dad at the kitchen table, eyes glued to his laptop, a cold coffee in hand. What are you looking for? I asked, playing casual. He looked up, gave that faint smile, the one that said he was hiding something big. Just work, he said, then added softly, the HOA applied for a $1.5 million loan to rebuild the community pool. Golden State Bank put me in charge. My jaw dropped. So you could reject them? He shook his head. Not that simple, Ethan, but I can really dig into everything they submit. I grinned. Vivian was putting herself in Dad's hands without a clue. Mom, Laura walked in, holding a stack of fines. Another one, she said, tossing it on the table. Front maple tree drooping below regulation height, $60 fine. I bet Vivian stood on the street with a ruler at midnight. Mom looked at Dad, eyes gleaming. David, I'm writing for the Sacramento Sun, an abusive HOA president, cherry-picking fines, readers will go wild. Dad nodded slowly. Do it, but don't mention the loan. I need to keep that quiet until I have proof. I jumped in. You mean Vivian's doing shady stuff with HOA money? He didn't answer, just sipped his coffee, but his eyes told me exactly. That afternoon, I saw Dad bring home a thick file from the bank, Willow Grove HOA stamped bold on the cover. He spread papers across the dining table, marking them with red pen. I hovered nearby, pretending to do homework, eyes on the numbers. Ethan, check this, he called, pointing to a line. They report $5,000 in fine revenue this year, but with the fines on us alone, it's already more than that. I frowned. So they're hiding money? He nodded. Maybe. I've requested an internal audit. If we find discrepancies, their loan's toast. That night, I heard Dad on the phone again. Charles, I need more HOA transaction data, he told his boss at the bank. The voice snapped back. David, don't overdo it. They're a big client. Dad kept calm, just following protocol. If there's an issue, the bank's at risk too. Hanging up, he rubbed his temples, looking tired. I stepped in, asked quietly, you okay? He smiled faintly. Fine. But Vivian doesn't know she just kicked a hornet's nest. Lying in bed that night, my mind spun. If Dad's right, Vivian's not just a power-tripping president, she might be embezzling from the whole neighborhood. And with the photos I took, Lisa Carter's RV, Margaret's bird feeder, I could help Dad prove she's selective with fines. But then I worried, if Dad kills the loan, how will Vivian react? She's already unhinged over petty stuff, with big money at stake. Would she get dirtier? I stared out the window, seeing the glow from Vivian's house a few doors down. She had no idea, but I felt a storm brewing, and the Harpers would be at the center. Vivian Pierce might think she's got Willow Grove in her grip, but she didn't expect the neighbors to fight back, and I, Ethan Harper, accidentally sparked it. After Dad, David hinted at the HOA's fishy finances. I couldn't sit still with my stack of photos showing violations around the neighborhood. If Vivian's picking who to fine, I'd make sure everyone saw the unfairness. I started with Henry Brooks, a retired vet next door. He'd built a steel basketball hoop for his grandson in the backyard, but last week, Vivian fined him $100 and demanded it come down for being unapproved. I've lived here 20 years, he growled, when I knocked, and no one's ever complained about that hoop. I showed him a pic of Lisa Carter's giant RV, Vivian's bestie, parked out front, clearly breaking the no recreational vehicles rule. This is too much, he said, eyes lighting up. She's playing favorites. Next was Margaret Evans, an 80-year-old widow down the street. I found her on her porch rocker, shaky hands holding a fine. My bird feeder's 2 inches over the height limit, she said sadly. $50 fine. Those birds have been my friends since Mr. Evans passed. I showed her Ravi Patel's green trash can, wrong color, no fine. See, I said, Vivian's not fair. She nodded, a rare spark of resolve in her eyes. I won't let her bully me anymore. Then I hit up Ravi Patel, an Indian engineer 3 houses down. He opened the door, holding a $75 fine for bike left in yard over 24 hours. I work all day, he sighed. How do I bring it in on time? I showed him Margaret's bird feeder and Lisa's RV pics. She's targeting anyone who doesn't bow to her, I said. Ravi nodded hard. We've got to do something. That night, Henry invited me, Margaret and Ravi to his garage, the first secret meeting. The garage smelled of oil and old wood, a dim yellow bulb lighting the photos I spread on the table. Look here, I pointed at each one. This RV, this trash can, this bird feeder, no fines. But my house, Henry's, Margaret's, Ravi's, all fined. Vivian's picking and choosing. Henry slammed the table. She thinks she's the neighborhood queen, or what? Margaret added. I heard her brag about a new community pool. Where's the money coming from? I looked around, heart racing. Dad knows. They all turned to me. My dad, David Harper, works at Golden State Bank, I said, lowering my voice. He's reviewing the HOA's $1.5 million loan for that pool. He thinks Vivian's hiding fine money, fudging numbers. Henry whistled. So your dad could stop them? I nodded. Maybe. But he won't say much, says he needs proof. Ravi cut in. These photos are a start. If the whole neighborhood rises up, Vivian can't cover it up. Right then, Mom. Laura knocked on the garage door and stepped in with her reporter's notebook. Ethan, what are you doing here? She asked, then saw the photos. I filled her in fast. She smiled. Brilliant. I'm writing an HOA abuse piece for the Sacramento Sun. Want to be in it? Henry jumped in. Put me on the front page. I want Vivian to know I'm not scared. Margaret added. Me too. It's time for justice. Ravi nodded. I'll talk about my bike. She can't bully us forever. Before leaving, I turned to Dad. He'd come to pick me up. Dad, the neighbors want to fight Vivian, I whispered. I gave them my photos. He looked at me, then the group, eyes gleaming. Good job, Ethan. But don't mention the loan, okay? I need more time to dig. I nodded, but inside I was buzzing. Vivian thought she controlled everything, but now the neighborhood was pushing back. Her fines weren't weapons anymore, they were fuel for the fire we were about to light. I pictured her opening a bank email, seeing the loan denied, realizing she'd kicked the wrong nest. But I also worried, if she finds out Dad's got the upper hand, what'll she do to hit back? After the garage meeting at Henry's, Ethan Harper felt like all of Willow Grove was waking up. But Vivian Pierce wasn't the type to back down easy. Just days later, she hit back in a way that chilled me. Saturday morning, I went to get the mail, and found an orange fine taped tight to our door. Hose not coiled neatly, $200 penalty. The hose had been tidy by the house since last week, I swear. I ran in, handed it to Mom. Laura, she's lost it, I yelled. Mom scanned it, frowning. This isn't random anymore. Vivian knows we're against her. It didn't stop there. That afternoon, I checked the mailbox again, and found a folded note, not an official fine. Inside, scrawled handwriting, stop sticking your nose in my business, or that precious camera of yours is toast. My heart pounded. My camera's my favorite thing. I use it for everything from birds to evidence against Vivian. I bolted inside, showed it to Dad, David. He read it, face darkening. She's threatening us, he said, voice low, but no hard proof she wrote it. Laura cut in. I'll report it to the police, but we need to be more careful. That night I couldn't sleep, staring out the window for anyone lurking. At 1 a.m., a flashlight beam flickered in the yard. I jolted up, heart racing, but before I could call Dad, the figure vanished. Morning check, nothing broken, but the watched feeling stuck with me all day. Vivian was clearly playing dirty, and I started worrying about Dad. If she found out he controls the HOA's $1.5 million loan, would she target him next? Then something weird happened. Monday, I grabbed the mail after a winter drizzle, and found a small note tucked at the bottom, no sender. I opened it, shaky handwriting, "Mom's hiding something in the HOA office, check it if you dare." I stood there, rereading it 3 times. Who sent this? I thought of Sophie Pierce, Vivian's daughter. I'd seen her around the neighborhood a few times, 17, long black hair, always quiet next to her mom. Did she really write this, or was it Vivian's trap? I showed it to Dad. He read it, frowning. Could be real, but it might be Vivian baiting us. Don't act yet. Laura peeked over his shoulder saying, if Sophie's turning on her mom, that's a game changer. But we need to be sure. I nodded, but my mind raced. If Sophie knew something, I had to find her. I decided to cruise by Vivian's house after school, pretending to photograph birds while watching. Through the window, I saw Sophie in the living room, eyes red, arguing with Vivian, though I couldn't hear. When Vivian left the room, Sophie looked out, caught my eye, and flinched. She darted to the back door, slipped another note into my hand, and vanished. Safe behind Mom's desk, code 142903. I got home, heart hammering, showed it to Mom and Dad. Sophie really wants to help, I said. But what if it's a setup? David rubbed his chin. If it's real, we could get evidence from the HOA office. If it's fake, Vivian's got grounds to sue us for breaking in. Laura added, I'll call Henry and Ravi. If we go together, safer. I nodded, but my gut churned. Sophie was risking a lot. Why? Did she hate her mom that much, or was there another motive? That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Vivian was threatening me, but Sophie was cracking open her secrets. If Dad used evidence from the safe, he could tank the loan and Vivian would crash. But if she caught on early, what would happen to us? I heard a car roll by at midnight, headlights sweeping the curtains. Was Vivian watching, or was it my imagination? Either way, I knew one thing, this fight just got bigger, and Sophie was a key I didn't fully understand. Vivian Pierce might threaten me with anonymous notes, but she didn't know my mom. Laura Harper was the real nightmare for anyone hiding secrets. After Sophie slipped me the note with the safe code, my family held an emergency meeting in the kitchen. Dad, David stayed cautious. We need evidence from that safe, but we can't move without a plan. I nodded, but my eyes flicked to Mom. She held her reporter's notebook, pen flying across the page. If Vivian's playing dirty, she said, I'll hit her with something she won't see coming. Public exposure. The Sacramento sun will make her squirm. Next morning, Mom turned the living room into Investigation HQ. HOA docs, my photos, orange fines, all spread across the table. She called Henry Brooks, Margaret Evans, and Ravi Patel. I need you to tell me everything Vivian's done, she said, on speaker. Henry roared, she fined me for my basketball hoop. I want the city to know. Margaret added, my bird feeder never hurt anyone. Ravi wrapped it up, my bike's too much for her. Mom scribbled fast, eyes glinting like a hunter sensing prey. By noon, Mom was typing on her laptop, draft headline. HOA President overreach Willow Grove residents bullied. I peeked over her shoulder, saw her write about selective fines, neighbor unfairness, and Dad's financial suspicions, without mentioning the loan. Aren't you scared Vivian will sue? I asked. Mom smirked. Let her try. Truth's the best shield. I knew she meant it. She'd once exposed a shady Sacramento contractor, left him bankrupt. That afternoon, Mom called her Sacramento Sun colleague, a guy named Mike. I've got a hot one, she said. Willow Grove HOA's fining residents absurdly, smells like abuse of power. Dig into Vivian Pierce, past finances, anything. Mike whistled over the phone. Sounds like a blockbuster. I'll check public records. I sat close, heart racing. If Mom unmasked Vivian before Dad killed the loan, she'd have nowhere to run. By night, Mike emailed Mom a pile of PDFs. She opened them, me and Emily, my sister, crowding in. Records showed Vivian ran a small real estate firm in Fresno, went bust 5 years ago, after a contract fraud lawsuit. She lost everything. Mom muttered. Moved to Willow Grove, climbed to HOA president, maybe to claw back control. Emily cut in. But why's she so aggressive with us? I said. Maybe your party, or she senses Dad's up to something. Mom nodded. Either way, this past is gold. I'll weave it into the story. Next morning, Mom's piece hit the Sacramento Sun front page. Willow Grove residents rebel against HOA's iron rule. She quoted Henry, Margaret, Ravi, even me. I talked about my fined bird statue. The article asked, where's the fine money going? Who really benefits from harsh rules? No hard proof, but Mom slyly hinted Vivian might be hiding something. I held the paper, grinning. She's done for, but Vivian didn't fold. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. A guy in a suit, claiming to be Vivian's lawyer, handed Mom a summons. Mrs. Harper's being sued for defamation, he said coolly. Vivian Pierce demands a public apology and $50,000. I froze, but Mom just smiled faintly, taking the summons like it was trash. Let her try, she said, after he left. I've got my own lawyer, and the truth's on our side. That night, Mom called Dad into the living room. David, the article's making waves. But if Vivian sues, she'll dig into us. Could she find out you're tied to the loan? Dad rubbed his chin. The bank keeps reviewers anonymous. But if she suspects, she'll play dirtier. I cut in, like threatening me with my camera. Dad nodded. Maybe, Laura, keep going. I'll speed up the audit at the bank. That night, I saw Mom typing another piece, this time targeting Vivian's lawsuit. HOA threatens press freedom. I lay in bed, mind spinning. Mom had just made Vivian a public enemy, but it also put our family in the crosshairs. If Vivian found out Dad controlled the $1.5 million loan, or that Sophie was really helping us, what would she do? I looked out the window, seeing the light still on at Vivian's house. Was she plotting revenge, or trembling? Either way, thanks to Mom, all of Sacramento now knew Willow Grove was fighting back, and Vivian couldn't hide forever. Mom's article in the Sacramento Sun stirred up all of Willow Grove, but it also put my dad, David Harper, in a tough spot. I thought he'd be thrilled to see Vivian Pierce cornered, but the next morning I found him at the kitchen table, eyes shadowed, phone in hand with dozens of unread messages. You okay? I asked, voice tinged with worry. He looked up, gave a faint smile, the forced kind I knew meant stress. Work's just a bit complicated, Ethan, he said, but I saw his fingers tapping the table, a sign he was wrestling with something big. It clicked when Dad went to Golden State Bank. He brought home a thicker file than before, the Willow Grove HOA logo bold on the cover. I snuck a peek as he spread papers across the dining table that night. Scribbled numbers, red notes in his handwriting, inflated revenue, $80,000 mismatch. He'd been right all along. Vivian was hiding fine money, padding finances to secure the $1.5 million pool loan. I asked, will you reject them? He shook his head. Not that simple. I've requested an internal audit, but my boss doesn't like this. Dad's boss, Charles Grayson, was the profit-obsessed type. The next morning, I heard Dad recount a bank meeting over speakerphone when Mom asked, David, what's holding up the loan? Grayson's voice growled through the line. The HOA's a big client, contractors are ready, don't mess this up. Dad kept steady. Charles, their numbers don't add up. Inflated revenue, missing fine money, if I approve without checking, the bank's at huge risk. Grayson snapped, don't overanalyze, just sign it. I saw Dad rub his temples after hanging up, looking more exhausted than ever. That night, Dad called me and Mom into his study. You both need to know this, he said, voice low. Charles is pressuring me to approve the loan next week. If I refuse without solid proof, he'll suspect bias, since Vivian's targeting us. Mom frowned, but you've got financial suspicions, right? Dad nodded, pointing to the file. Yes, but not enough for the board yet. I need the real ledger from Vivian's safe, the one Sophie told Ethan about. I jumped in, so why not get it, he sighed. If I get caught breaking in, my career's over. The pressure wasn't just from Grayson. Next morning, I saw Dad get an email from the internal audit team. I stood behind him, sneaking a read. HOA records show irregularities, but we need original docs to confirm. Got a source? Dad turned to me, eyes probing. Ethan, you sure Sophie's trustworthy? I nodded hard. I saw her fight with her mom. She really wants to help. Dad nodded slowly. All right, I'll tell Henry and Ravi to plan getting the ledger. But I can't be directly involved, too risky. That afternoon, Dad got called to meet Grayson again. When he got home he said, Charles knows about Laura's article. He asked if I'm involved. I panicked. He thinks you're retaliating against Vivian. Dad nodded. Not clear yet, but he warned, if I find out you're using your position for personal grudges, you're done. Mom grabbed his hand. You're doing the right thing, David. If Vivian's cheating, you have to stop her, for the bank, for us. Dad gave a sad smile. I know, but if she finds out I'm reviewing the loan, she'll turn the tables. That night, I saw Dad sitting alone on the porch, staring at Vivian's house a few doors down. I stepped out, sat beside him. Scared of losing your job? I asked quietly. He turned, eyes flickering. Not quite. I'm more scared of letting Vivian win. She's not just bullying us, she's stealing from the whole neighborhood. But this pressure, he trailed off, sighing. I have to balance justice and duty. I nodded, getting his torn feelings. I believe you'll pull it off, I said. He patted my shoulder. Thanks, Ethan. Now I need you, Mom, and the neighbors to help. If we get that ledger, I'll have ammo to fight both Vivian and Grayson. Lying in bed after, I thought about Dad. He wasn't just facing Vivian, he was up against a bank system, ready to look the other way. Vivian could threaten me, sue Mom, but the real weight was on Dad's shoulders. I looked out the window, seeing Vivian's light still on. What was she doing? And if Dad stopped the loan, would she let our family be? I knew one thing, this war was about to blow up, and Dad needed us more than ever. The bank's pressure had David Harper, taut as a wire, but a spark of hope flared when Sophie Pierce decided to blow it all open. After our porch talk, Ethan Harper, knew we needed the ledger in Vivian's safe to save Dad from the line between justice and his career. I texted Henry Brooks and Ravi Patel. Sophie gave us the safe code. We've got to act. Henry replied instantly. Tonight, my garage, 8 p.m. I was jittery all day, glancing at Vivian's house every time I passed a window. What was Sophie doing in there? Was she really turning on her mom, or was this a trap? At 8 p.m., me, Henry, Ravi and my sister, Emily met in Henry's garage. Mom Laura stayed home writing her next article, while Dad refused to join directly, saying, I can't give Grayson a reason to fire me. Henry spread a Willow Grove map on the table. Each OA office is at the end of Elm Street, open till 9 p.m. Tuesdays for fine payments. We've got an hour. I handed over Sophie's note, codes 142903, safes behind Vivian's desk. Ravi frowned. What if we get caught? Emily smirked. Say we're dropping off late fines, who can prove otherwise? We walked to the office, acting casual, but my heart pounded. The small building had a flickering neon light inside. I pushed the door, saw a clerk cleaning, not Vivian. We're here to pay a fine, I said, holding an old ticket. She nodded, distracted. Leave it there, I'll process it tomorrow. Henry cut in. Can I use the restroom? She pointed to the back, unsuspecting. We slipped after him, my heart ready to burst. Vivian's office was at the hall's end, door ajar. I nudged it open, saw a big wooden desk, and a gray steel safe behind, just as Sophie said. Emily stood watch. Henry and Ravi stayed quiet as I knelt, dialing the code, 142903. Click, the safe opened. Inside was an old ledger, yellowed pages, and a stack of papers. I flipped it open, saw Vivian's handwriting. October fine fees, $15,000, transferred to Carter LLC. That's Lisa Carter's, Vivian's best friend, company. She's embezzling, I whispered. Ravi snapped pics of each page with his phone, hands shaking. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hall. Emily hissed, someone's coming. I stuffed the ledger in my jacket, shut the safe, heart racing. The door swung open, Sophie stepped in, eyes red, hair a mess. "What are you doing here?" she yelled softly, then saw the ledger in my hands. "Good, you found it." I froze. "Sophie, why are you here?" she panted. "Mom knows you've been photographing the neighborhood. She suspects your family's doing something with the loan. I had to tell you before it's too late." Sophie slumped into a chair, spilling fast. "Carter LLC is my uncle's, Mom's brother-in-law, fake company. She funnels fine money there, inflates revenue for the bank loan. She's done it at 3 other HOAs around Sacramento too." My jaw dropped. 3 others, Sophie nodded. "She wants to build a legacy pools, parks for people to remember my dad, who died 10 years ago. But now it's all money and power." Henry growled. "She's stealing from us." Sophie bowed her head. I tried stopping her, but she wouldn't listen. "I gave you the code to end this." Ravi held up his phone. "We've got ledger pics, enough for your dad to block the loan." I nodded hard. "More than enough." "But Sophie, if your mom finds out you helped us." She cut me off. "I don't care, I'm tired of the lies." Emily grabbed her hand. "You're brave. Come with us." Sophie shook her head. "Not yet, I have to stay. Keep Mom calm until you get this to your dad." We left the office, the ledger heavy in my coat. On the way back, Henry clapped my shoulder. "Kid, you just found the golden bullet." I smiled, but worry clung. Sophie risked everything. What if Vivian found out? At home, I handed the ledger to Dad. He flipped through, eyes lighting up. "This is what I need. Inflated revenue, illegal transfers, enough to deny the loan legally." Mom cut in. "And for the article." Dad nodded. "But I've got to be careful. If Grayson knows how I got this, I'm still in trouble." Lying in bed that night, I thought about Sophie. She turned on her mom for justice, or hatred of Vivian. Either way, Vivian's scheme was exposed. Dad had the weapon to take her down, but I knew she wouldn't go quietly. What would she do when she realized her daughter betrayed her? After Sophie Pierce entrusted us with the ledger and revealed her mom's scheme, Ethan Harper, thought our family had the upper hand. Dad, David had proof to block Willow Grove HOA's $1.5 million loan, and Mom, Laura, was prepping her second article to expose it all. But Vivian Pierce wasn't the type to sit and wait for defeat. She struck back faster than I expected, and this time, she aimed straight at me. The morning after the break-in, I biked through the park near our house to photograph birds, a habit to unwind amid this mess. Suddenly Vivian emerged from the walking path, blonde hair perfectly styled, eyes narrowed like a hunting wolf. "Ethan Harper," she called, voice icy. I braked, heart pounding. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to sound tough. She stepped closer, close enough I smelled her pricey perfume. "You think you're smart, don't you?" she hissed. "Snapping pics around the neighborhood, meddling in my business. I know your dad's doing something with the bank loan. Tell him to stop, or his career's toast." I backed up, hands gripping the handlebars. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, voice shaky. Vivian smirked, a chilling grin. "Don't play dumb. I've seen you lurking near my house. If that loan doesn't go through, I'll make sure your family pays, starting with you." She pointed at the camera around my neck. "Watch that thing. Be a shame if it suddenly smashed." Then she turned away, leaving me there, breath ragged. Vivian wasn't just threatening, she knew something. I raced home, told Mom and Dad right away. She cornered me in the park, I yelled, hands still trembling. She said Dad's got to stop with the loan, or she'll ruin his career, and me too. Laura hugged me, face darkening. "She's crossed the line, I'm calling the police." David held last night's ledger, voice low. "She suspects me, but she's got no proof. If the cops get involved, she'll deny everything." I cut in. "But my camera, it records audio." I switched it on when she got close. I grabbed it, played the clip. Vivian's voice, crystal clear, threatening Dad and me. Mom smirked. "Brilliant, Ethan. This is gold for the article, and maybe court." But Vivian wasn't done. That night, around 2 a.m., I jolted awake to glass shattering outside. I rushed to the window, saw 2 figures sprinting from our house, streetlights, casting dim glows. Morning check. The garage window was smashed, red paint splattered Dad's car, scrawled words, "Stop now." The front security cam caught Lisa Carter, Vivian's bestie, holding a paint can, but the second figure stayed shadowed. I ran in, showed the video to Mom and Dad. She sent Lisa to vandalize, I said. Laura fumed. This is harassment evidence. I'm calling the cops now. David watched the clip, face tight. She's panicking. But I need to handle the loan before she does worse. Cops came, took the report, but with no direct proof. Vivian ordered it, no arrests. Lieutenant Lopez, the officer in charge, looked at me. Be careful, kid. If she's targeting you, don't go alone anymore. I nodded, but unease churned inside. Vivian wasn't just threatening, she was acting. I worried for Dad. He faced pressure from Grayson at the bank. Now Vivian was hitting our family. Dad, I asked, after the cops left, what'll you do with the loan? He sighed. I'm sending the ledger to audit today. With this proof, I can deny it legally. But if Vivian finds out first, she'll flip the script. That afternoon, I saw Dad call Henry and Ravi. We need to meet at the garage tonight, he said on speaker. Vivian's attacking directly. I've got the ledger, but we have to move fast. I jumped in. I'm coming. If she's after me, I want to face her. Dad looked at me, nodded slowly. All right, Ethan, but stay close. That night, walking to the garage, I saw Vivian's car, parked a few houses from Henry's, interior lights on. Was she watching us, or did she know Sophie betrayed her? Either way, I gripped my camera, ready to record everything. Vivian could threaten in person, but my family and the neighborhood wouldn't let her win easy. After Vivian Pierce threatened me in the park and trashed our house, all of Willow Grove knew the fight had hit its peak. Dad, David Harper, decided to land the final blow at the Tuesday night HOA meeting, where Vivian would surely try to cover her tracks. Ethan Harper couldn't sit it out, not after Sophie handed over the ledger and Mom, Laura, readied her next article. That night, Henry Brooks' garage was packed. Henry, Margaret Evans, Ravi Patel, my sister Emily, and both my parents. David held the ledger, voice low. This proves Vivian's embezzling. I'll submit it to the bank, but tonight we confront her in front of the whole neighborhood. The community center meeting room was jammed when we arrived, more people than I'd ever seen. Chairs full, folks lined the walls, buzzing with whispers. Vivian stood at the podium, blonde hair sleek, fake smile plastered on. She banged the gavel, voice ringing. Thanks for coming. I called this emergency meeting to address malicious rumors about HOA leadership. The projector flicked on, showing a tidy financial slide, $5,000 in fine revenue, clear maintenance spending. As you see, she went on, our finances are transparent. Recent accusations are lies from a few disgruntled residents. I glanced at Dad, saw him tighten his grip on the ledger. Vivian was lying through her teeth. Henry raised his hand, voice booming. If it's transparent, why'd my house get fined for a basketball hoop, but Lisa Carter's RV gets a pass? Murmurs spread. Vivian forced a laugh. We handle cases individually, Mr. Brooks. Margaret stood, leaning on her cane. What about my bird feeder? I've lived here 30 years now, fined for 2 inches. Ravi added, my bike in the yard, $75. But my green trash can's fine. Vivian slammed the gavel. Enough. This isn't for personal gripes. Dad stood, stepped to the room's center, ledger in hand. I'm David Harper, 315 Oak Lane, he began, voice calm but sharp. I'm not just a resident, I'm a Golden State Bank employee, reviewing the HOA's $1.5 million loan. The room went dead silent. Vivian paled but kept her cool. Mr. Harper should recuse himself for conflict of interest, she interrupted. His family's constant violators. Dad smiled faintly. Violations started after I got the loan file, and as a resident, I can speak on HOA finances. He held up the ledger. This is the real record from the HOA office safe. It shows Vivian funneled $15,000 in fines to Carter LLC, her brother-in-law's fake company, then inflated revenue for the bank loan. The room erupted in shouts. Vivian pounded the gavel. That's a lie. Where'd he get that? I stood, yelling. From your office. We've got photos of every page. Ravi held up his phone, projecting the images. Vivian's handwriting plain as day. Suddenly, the door flew open. Sophie Pierce walked in, eyes red, voice shaky. I gave them the safe code. The room froze. Vivian spun. face ashen. Sophie, what are you doing? Sophie stared her down. I'm tired of the lies. You moved fine money to build a legacies for Dad, but now it's all greed. I let them in because it's right. Vivian lunged, screaming, how could you betray me? Henry blocked her. That's enough, Vivian. Margaret raised her cane. I motion for a no-confidence vote right now. Cheers filled the room. Vivian slammed the gavel one last time. You don't have the authority, but Ravi stood. Per HOA bylaws, residents can call an emergency vote if leadership suspected of fraud. Henry shouted, who votes to remove Vivian Pierce from the board? Dozens of hands shot up, drowning out weak protests from Vivian's few allies. I counted fast, 90% against. Vivian sank into her chair, hands over her face. Laura stood beside me, recording it all on her phone. I invited the press, she whispered. Sacramento Sun's covering it live. I turned, saw two reporters snapping pics from the corner. Vivian looked up, eyes wild, muttering. You've ruined everything I built. Dad replied coldly. You did that when you stole from us. Sophie stepped over, grabbed my hand. Sorry it took me so long, she said softly. I nodded, feeling relief and pity for her. As people swarmed with questions, I saw Vivian whisper to Lisa Carter, the one who trashed our house. Lisa slipped her a note, then both slipped out, dodging eyes. Henry clapped my shoulder. Kid, you and your dad did it. I smiled, but unease lingered. Vivian lost this round, but her look as she left wasn't defeat. Dad pulled me aside. Ethan, I'm sending the ledger to the bank tomorrow. They can't approve the loan with this, Mom added. And the article hits tomorrow. She's out of moves. Walking home under streetlights, I saw Sophie standing quietly by our gate. You okay? I asked. She nodded weakly. I have to go back to Mom tonight, but I won't let her do anything else. I squeezed her hand. You're not alone. She gave a faint smile, then faded into the dark. I watched her go, thinking of Dad. He'd taken Vivian down in front of the neighborhood, without breaking bank rules. But as Vivian's car rolled past our house, headlights sweeping the windows, I knew she wasn't done. The explosive meeting was over, but I had a gut feeling the real fight was just starting. After the explosive HOA meeting stripped Vivian Pierce of her presidency, and Harper knew the story wasn't over. The next morning, Willow Grove buzzed like a kicked hive. Mom's Laura's Sacramento Sun piece hit the front page. HOA president exposed for embezzlement, residents win big. It ran a photo of Vivian paling at the podium, quoting Sophie and Dad, David on the ledger. Neighbors knocked on our door, thanking us non-stop. Henry Brooks clapped my shoulder. You and your dad are heroes. Margaret Evans brought cookies, eyes teary. I can finally hang my bird feeder again. But I looked at Dad, saw tension outweighing joy. David sent the ledger to Golden State Bank's audit team that morning, along with a detailed report. Willow Grove HOA inflated revenue, funneled fine money through Carter LLC, a sham company. I stood beside him as he hit send, asking, what do you think they'll do? He sighed. With this evidence, the $1.5 million loan's rejection is certain, but I have to step back from reviewing it, avoid trouble with Grayson. I nodded, understanding he wanted to keep his career safe after all the pressure. Charles Grayson called right after, voice growling over speaker. David, what the hell are you doing? Rejecting the HOA loses us a big contract. Dad replied coolly, Charles, I have the real ledger, they're fraudulent, I'm protecting the bank. Grayson hung up, but I knew he wasn't happy. That afternoon, the news spread beyond Willow Grove. A black car parked outside Vivian's house, two suited figures stepping out, not local cops. Mom peeked through the curtains, whispering, FBI. My jaw dropped. How'd they get here so fast? Laura smirked. The article mentioned 3 other HOAs Sophie talked about. Maybe someone at the Sacramento Sun tipped them off. That night, the TV reported, FBI probes Northern California HOA fraud network, suspected ties to Willow Grove. They interviewed Henry, who roared, Vivian stole our money for some fancy pool. I turned to Dad, this the big thing Sophie meant? He nodded, she might be linked to contractors, profiting off multiple neighborhoods. The ledger's just the tip. The fallout hit fast. Next morning, a moving truck parked at Vivian's. I saw her loading boxes, face grim, avoiding everyone. Sophie stood on the porch, clutching a small bag, eyes blank. I ran over, asked, "You going with her?" Sophie shook her head. "She's heading to Fresno with my uncle." "I'm staying, this is my home." I grabbed her hand. "You okay?" She gave a sad smile. "No, but I had to do this. Thanks for trusting me." Before leaving, she handed me a letter, for the neighborhood. My apology for Mom. I opened it later, reading shaky words. "I didn't know it'd go this far. Sorry for what my mom did." Vivian left, but the storm wasn't over. Cops called Mom and Dad to the station, asking about our house vandalism. I gave them the video of Lisa Carter throwing paint, and they confirmed her arrest that morning. "Carter says Vivian ordered it," Lieutenant Lopez said, "but not enough to charge Pierce yet." Laura frowned. "She's gone. The FBI will find her." I worried for Sophie. If Vivian knew her daughter betrayed her, would she come back for revenge? The FBI dug deeper than I expected. By the weekend they raided the HOA office, hauling out boxes of files. News updated. HOA fraud network spans 5 areas, $4 million embezzled total. They named Carter LLC, and Vivian's brother-in-law, now arrested in Fresno. I asked Dad, how'd she pull off something this big? He shook his head. Ambition. She wanted a legacy, but got lost in money. Mom added, and now the whole state knows her face. Willow Grove started changing. Henry called a resident meeting, nominating a temporary board. He topped the list, elected with 95% votes. "No more nonsense fines," he declared. The room cheering. I saw Sophie at the back, quiet. After the meeting, she came over, asked, "Think my mom'll get caught?" I hesitated. "If the FBI finds enough, maybe." She nodded, eyes red. "I want her to stop, but not in jail." I hugged her, unsure what to say. That night, my family sat around the dinner table. Dad said, "The bank officially rejected the loan today. Grayson's mad, but can't touch me." Mom smiled. "The next article will tell our journey from fines to FBI." I looked at them, proud but tired. "Is it over?" I asked. David shook his head. "Vivian might hide, but the FBI won't let go. We're safe, but the neighborhood needs time to heal." Lying in bed, I thought of Sophie, Vivian and the neighborhood. The meeting's fallout took Vivian down, but a bigger probe was unfolding. I looked out the window, no more Vivian's car rolling by, but I knew, out there somewhere, she wasn't done, and Sophie might be the next to pay. After Vivian Pierce fled Willow Grove, and the FBI launched its big investigation, Ethan Harper, felt the neighborhood breathe again. Things didn't snap back to normal right away. There were still whispers about the embezzlement, wary glances between neighbors, but something was shifting. David escaped bank pressure when the $1.5 million loan was officially denied, and Mom. Laura dropped her final article, Willow Grove Rises, from Injustice to Unity. But the one truly reviving the neighborhood was Henry Brooks, temporary HOA president. A week after the explosive meeting, Henry called everyone to the community center. No more orange fines, no commanding tone, just him on the podium, voice warm. "We've endured enough from Vivian, now we rebuild." He announced new rules, transparent finances, no petty fines, residents voting directly on projects, no $1 million pool. He chuckled. "But I want Willow Grove's first BBQ bash park wherever, no tickets." The room roared with applause. I glanced at Sophie Pierce in the back corner, faintly smiling. First time I'd seen her relax since her mom left. The BBQ happened that weekend, right in the cul-de-sac by our house. Henry brought a huge grill, Margaret Evans pitched in homemade cookies, Ravi Patel handled music from a Bluetooth speaker. I carried my camera, snapping kids biking freely, no one scared of fines for leaving them out. Cars parked across front yards, no one worried about Vivian measuring grass or checking paint colors. Mom stood beside me, looking around. "This is what Vivian never got. The neighborhood doesn't need a fancy pool, it needs each other." I nodded, photographing Dad laughing with Henry. First time I'd seen him at ease in weeks. Sophie showed up late, in a plain hoodie, holding a tray of garlic bread. "Thought I should bring something," she said quietly, when I waved her over. "You didn't have to," I replied. You've done enough. She shook her head. I still feel guilty. Mom caused all this. I cut her off. Not your fault. And you're part of this place now. She smiled for real. First time ever. Then helped Emily, my sister, set the table. Watching Sophie blend in, I thought of her apology letter. Maybe she was finding a way to heal. Mid-party, Henry raised his beer. Thanks to the Harpers and everyone who stood up to Vivian. We're free now. Cheers erupted. I saw Mom and Dad smile at each other. David pulled me aside. Ethan, you did great. From those photos to trusting Sophie. I blushed. Just wanted to help you, Dad. He patted my shoulder. You did more. You helped the whole neighborhood. Laura cut in. And I hear Henry wants you as the official HOA photographer. No fines, just joy. I laughed. Sign me up. As the sunset streetlights flicked on, music still playing, I sat on our stoop, watching everyone. Ravi danced with kids. Margaret told old Willow Grove tales from before the HOA. Sophie sat beside me, asked, "Think this place will be okay?" I nodded. Better than before. No Vivian, no fear. She stared off. I heard the FBI's tracking Mom in Fresno. If they catch her, I grabbed her hand. Whatever happens, you've got us. She nodded slightly, eyes brighter. The party stretched late, cars still parked everywhere, no one cared. Cleaning up, I saw neighbors pitching in, unheard of under Vivian. Henry came over, asked, "What do you think of the new Willow Grove, Ethan?" I grinned. "Like a real home." He nodded, "Exactly, and we'll keep it that way." I snapped one last shot, the neighborhood under the lights laughing, my best photo yet. That night, in bed, I scrolled through my camera. From the first find to the BBQ, Willow Grove had come alive. Vivian wanted control, but unity beat her. I thought of Dad, holding his ground amid bank pressure, Mom, turning truth into a weapon, and Sophie risking it all to right wrongs. This neighborhood didn't just survive, it got stronger. I turned off the light, smiling. Tomorrow, I'd hang my wooden bird statue in the front yard. No one would find me now. The BBQ brought Willow Grove back to life, but as streetlights dimmed and folks headed home, I, Ethan Harper, felt the need to sit with my family and look back. Next morning, I woke early, finding Dad, David and Mom Laura, at the kitchen table, coffee steaming. Emily, my sister, stumbled down, hair a mess from the party. "Why you all up so early?" she asked, yawning. I grinned, probably to recap how we took down Vivian Pierce. Mom glanced at me winking, not quite, but close. David set his mug down, voice low. "Yesterday was the first time I saw this neighborhood truly united. Without Vivian, we'd never have known how strong we are." I nodded, recalling cars parked freely with no fine worries. "But Dad," I asked, "weren't you scared sending the ledger to the bank? Grayson could have fired you." He gave a faint smile, the kind from someone who'd crossed a tightrope. "I was, Ethan. But letting Vivian win scared me more. If she got that loan, the neighborhood and the bank would have paid the price. I had to do right, risks and all." Laura squeezed Dad's hand. "You pulled it off, David, and I didn't expect the article to drag in the FBI." Emily cut in. "You mean we didn't expect you to turn us all into detectives?" I laughed, picturing Mom's living room investigation HQ. "You were the secret weapon," I said. "But I kept thinking Vivian would hit back harder, like hiring someone to trash our house again." Laura shrugged. "She's gone. The FBI's got the rest. What I'm proud of is we didn't just save ourselves, we saved Willow Grove." I stood, grabbed my camera off the shelf, flipped through shots. First was Emily's grad party, where the car fine mess started. Then Lisa Carter's RV, Margaret's bird feeder, and finally yesterday's BBQ, the neighborhood laughing under lights. "Look," I showed Mom and Dad. "It started with that dumb front yard, and ended like this." Emily peeked over my shoulder, teasing, "You're the neighborhood paparazzi, Ethan." I shrugged. Someone had to capture it. David studied the photos, eyes lighting up. "You're right, one small injustice got us here. I learned standing up isn't just for yourself, but for everyone around you." Laura added, "And I learned truth outweighs any of Vivian's threats." I sat thinking of Sophie. I wonder how she's doing. She called yesterday, said her mom's hiding in Fresno, but the FBI's close. Dad nodded. Brave kid. Without her, no ledger, and Vivian might have won. We sat quiet for a moment, the clock ticking. I broke it. I think this place feels like a real home now, not just somewhere to live. Emily agreed. Yeah, no more fines for breathing wrong. Mom smiled. I'll write one last piece for the Sacramento Sun, not about Vivian, but how Willow Grove rose. People deserve to know. Dad clapped my shoulder. And you, Ethan, what'd you learn? I thought. I learned sometimes you've got to face the bully, not just for yourself, but for those too scared to speak. I looked out the window at our front yard, where it all began. Empty now, but I knew tonight it'd be full of cars, no complaints. The Harpers changed Willow Grove, but it changed us too. I smiled, picturing my wooden bird statue I'd rehang, a small symbol of a big win. Vivian lost, but what we gained wasn't just freedom, it was a real community. I, Ethan Harper, sit here reflecting on my family's wild ride in Willow Grove, and I know this story isn't just ours. After Dad, David blocked Vivian Pierce's loan, Mom, Laura exposed the truth, and the neighborhood stood up. I realized something: small injustices can spark big change, if you fight. Now I want to hear from you watching this video, so grab your camera, sit down with me, and let's hear your story. Ever dealt with a crazy HOA like Vivian, a president fining you for grass half an inch too tall, or banning your favorite wind chimes? Maybe a neighbor bully, making you dread stepping outside? Tell me in the comments, I'll read them all, I swear. My family started with a parking fine in our front yard, and ended pulling in the FBI. What's your tale? Maybe you've got a David or Laura in your life, or you're the Sophie standing up. I want to know. If you liked our journey from fines to BBQ, hit that like button, it helps a ton. And don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss the next video. I'm thinking a part 2, how Willow Grove keeps its spirit post Vivian, or maybe an update on Sophie, if the FBI nabs her mom. What do you want to see? Comment, and tell me. Oh, share this with friends too. Who doesn't love a neighborhood beating the bad guy, right? Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Willow Grove rose because we didn't give up, and I believe you can change your corner too. Drop your story below, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I'm Ethan Harper, and I'll see you soon. Now, tell me, what HOA drives you nuts? The Harper family's Willow Grove saga mirrors a common reality in today's U.S. The tension between personal freedom and community rules, especially in HOA neighborhoods. In America, HOAs often form to maintain property values and order, but plenty, like Vivian Pierce, turn into tools for overreach, imposing absurd rules, banning front yard parking or fining for grass a few inches over. It's like real disputes in states like California or Texas, where residents sue HOAs for privacy breaches or fund theft. David Harper, as a bank employee, used his role to expose Vivian's financial fraud, showing the power of expertise, a value prized in the U.S., where people lean on legal and professional systems for justice. The story's lesson isn't just about fighting injustice, it's how everyone can use their own tools for change. Ethan's photos became evidence, Laura's journalism amplified truth, Sophie risked betraying her mom to right wrongs, all reflecting America's self-reliance and community spirit. In real life, facing an overbearing HOA or authority, don't just take it. Record proof like Ethan. A phone video works. Find allies like Henry and Ravi, and use public channels, social media or local news like Laura did well. Most importantly, like David, stick to what's right despite pressure, because a small stand against a parking fine can spark big shifts, like Willow Grove's rebirth into a united community. And remember, like Sophie, even amid family mistakes, you can choose what's just. That's how a fairer America gets built. Thanks for joining our fight against Vivian and Willow Grove's revival. Hit subscribe for the next video, where I'll update on Sophie and the neighborhood. See you soon, and drop your crazy HOA story in the comments.